Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're continuing our journey with this elf fighter, seeing if we can be successful with gear. It's not traditional of his elf homeland. That is plate armor, a nice round shield, and a blue arming sword that we pillaged from the bodies of a team in the last episode. That was hugely successful.
Bro. Looking good, bro. Looking good, bro.
Whoa,
Get the impression this guy's a repose enjoyer.
Oh, you're looking good, buddy. Looking good, buddy.
I ain't your buddy, pal. And VoIP certainly has its moments of fun and also a little bit of cringe. Jumping into this one, I'm not gonna lie to you. This one starts off very slowly as we work our way into the center of the map. We kill a whole bunch of skellies, we loot a whole bunch of chests, and find a lot of junk. Like, repeatedly finding junk. One thing I will say is I love this part of the map. Ruins map is super aesthetic, even though a lot of people find it really, really dark, and maybe the bushes and stuff favor rogues. But really, favor anybody if you're hiding properly. Last episode, we tried to take advantage of the darkness, and truthfully, it was still very successful, even on a class that isn't capable of going invisible. Really, the most difficult thing I had in the first few minutes of this one was these skeletons, one using a bow, and then we find an arming sword that could potentially rival the one we already have. I've always wondered how much, like that +1 weapon damage, if it's already applied, like I'm seeing 31 weapon damage, does that +1 mean that it was 30? Or does that +1 mean now it's 32? It's kind of a weird weapon stat, but if you look, you will see we have a 31 damage green one in our hands. I'm going to check the damage numbers here in a second. We swap to the blue one, and it is doing 33.6 on the first hit. And then the second one's doing 32.55. As you know, there's a whole lot of other stats that go into that. Physical power, and things I can't even understand fully. But it's not 33 damage a swing, it's 67 damage a swing with the headshot modifier. And weapon damage is applied after on those stats. It's kind of nice to know. We make our way, like I said, through this map quite quickly, and we clear some mobs. I'm playing super slow, expecting duos to be everywhere, breaking pots, breaking barrels, making a whole bunch of noise, aggroing skeletons in the dark, and looting their corpses to find absolutely nothing, repeatedly. So, I think, looking at the top right, a lot of people just got destroyed. I don't know where these people were, or where they were fighting, but a lot of people died. We hear the footsteps of a little baby rogue. We're wondering if we can get a crossbow bolt into the back of him. But unfortunately, that rogue was never seen again. I followed him into the other side of the map, towards the bridge. I looked everywhere. So, just ghosts and shadows is what I've been chasing this entire map. Kind of a catch-22. You want to chase the action, but at the same time, if I run into that team that's wearing blues, I am in for a real battle. An incredibly difficult fight. It's the first time in a long time I've used any type of plate armor, meaning the speed reduction I'm seeing with the movement speed penalties feels so slow. Crazy slow. And now seeing how there's only 4 minutes left, we do hear an early portal, and we catch sight of a fighter with some light gear. And we're seriously not interested in being friendly. We are chomping at the bit for some action here. We send a crossbow bolt his way, expecting there to be a team or a duo. And let's get this party started. However, he disappears. We hear another guy take the portal in the room beyond. Trying to catch anyone else leaving this portal, we do hear a mimic close by, so maybe this would give us some sort of loot or something of value. We take 2 hits from it. I don't know how I was close enough to that. I guess I was crouched into his hitbox, so my head was getting hit by him, maybe. And this fighter never really returns. I don't see him again, or at least the time being. I'm tempted, like I said, I'm very tempted to take this portal, but I feel like there's so much more to gain out there. We're gonna break some boxes, try to maximize our loot, and just see what happens here. We have a portal. We didn't really have to fight anybody, it was just PvE only. And if for all you people that think that a mode or map that you could just do PvE on would be fun or entertaining for long, trust me, any map I've been in like this, or when servers aren't full because of issues in the past playtest, any time I was in really, really small lobbies or lobbies with no players, it felt so boring to me. I love a chaotic or busy environment in Dark and Darker. And we catch a quick little glimpse of some chaos, and this fighter is now pelted with arrows. One of them could potentially be a bolt from us, if this is the guy we saw earlier. We hear him trigger a hunting trap and he keels over, so there's a ranger close by, which will be the duel to finish this map off. This ranger was out looting. He could have a decent inventory of loot for us if we can land some crossbow bolts. I find I'm always trying to aim where they're going to be because the projectile speed's so slow. And it can be a tricky thing to do with the crossbow. And this is probably just a situation where we have to rush him with sprint. And he takes off into the darkness. We let him go. I'm not in a big rush here. I have protection pots, I have health pots, I have decent armor. We'll just use all those and hope we can get to a portal before he does. And we hear a guy take a portal right beyond this door, which is really surprising to me because I thought this map was pretty much empty at this point. So maybe there's a lot of single players just running in here and trying to escape rather than getting clobbered in goblin caves. This ranger returns and we try to smash him with a crossbow bolt, but he darts back the way he was going, which I thought he was going to keep pushing and just be forced into that crossbow bolt. But those ranges, I should be really aiming on the player, not trying to pick a direction. See him sneaking around to this side, we lose sight of him quickly. And then we hear a portal open and blast him. And I mean blast him in the face with a crossbow bolt. Of all the shots for us to land, that one was the most important, which means we could be escaping with a little bit more loot here if we can manage our inventory quickly. One thing I did not realize was we are quickly running out of time. Like, super quickly. And I'm trying way too hard to maximize all these little small details when I should just be grabbing the valuables, ditching all these arrows, and moving on. I cannot believe how close that was. There is no zone left. Like, I was at the death of it. Like, darkness literally closing in. I'm so shocked I survived there. That was almost a huge error. Like, enormous error. You imagine all that work, all that effort gone because I spent all my extra time looting pretty average items. Anyway, we did find some blue gloves, but the true magical damage I'm finding on almost everything right now, magical damage bonuses or additional magic damage which do absolutely nothing for me, like that gray gambeson in my inventory. Once again, we get hit by an arrow, so that means we usually forget to drop it, and we brought it with us. Interesting to see how much Mimic Ton's worth. 20 gold for a green one. It will be very nice when those things are actually useful for either quest or crafting. Be neat to farm mimics and make items with those tongues. So we sell everything. We are up to 127 gold. This arming sword I probably never need, so I'm likely just going to sell that. Get it out of my inventory. And then see what we can start shopping for. Make sure we have enough potions. Probably going to purchase a few more of those. But first I want to take a quick look. That spear. Been really enjoying spear. Although I do feel halberd has a better potential as a solo player. Spear can block, yes, but you just can't deal enough damage quickly. And the longsword really rivals it because longsword can do the same amount of damage. I'm pretty sure it has the exact same damage numbers across the variations of rarity. And you get riposte, which is a free block on certain weapons, and it does bonus damage on its first swing, I'm pretty sure. So riposte is a damage spike if you can learn to use it. Spear doesn't really have that, and you're pretty reliant on landing headshots consistently with a small hitbox of that spear tip. We decided to go with this shield, mainly because I'm hoping for a strength roll or a damage reduction roll. Even a movement speed roll would be nice on that shield. However, we get heater shield, which doesn't do much for us, even though I like blocking with a heater shield a little bit better than the round shield. It also provides you with a little bit higher armor rating across the rarity levels, so if you're stacking armor, which we're trying to do, it's probably best to go heater shield, even though I'm dropping like 0.8% action speed, which I don't think is going to make much difference. We go for Lightfoot boots, and we're going to check to see what sort of difference it makes. Magic resist from one boot to the other is actually almost 3%, which isn't terrible if we're using rugged boots to boost some of those numbers. And we can almost get to 10%, or we can get to 10%, or 14% magic resist if we go rugged boots and the 3% magical damage reduction from those gloves. So it might be worthwhile dropping those blue gloves and running a little bit of a lighter kit. If we drop the Fine Cuirass, I think that's how you say it, I'm not entirely sure. Regardless of name, switching from Gamison to plate armor, we see a drop of 7% in our damage reduction, but we see an increase of almost 7% in our magic resistance. So we're sitting close to 20 and 20, and I'm really curious, and I'm super intrigued to run this because I hate being so slow. The big issue is going to be strength, and that strength is going to provide us with a lot of damage, especially because we're going elf fighter, and our damage and strength is very low starting out. Low for a class that I feel like should have a little bit more strength. I don't think it's fair that we're so weak in that department. So with this lighter build, we debate whether or not we want to actually switch up some of our skills and or perks. Because we're going a bit lighter, things might not be necessary to run Swift, but really there's not too many great options. And I don't have Adrenaline Rush, so we're not going to see a lot of benefit from combo attack. And we keep messing around with the boots now because movement speed could be the way to go here. It's such fine margins, and I love this about this game. So many small little details you can toy with and play with and decide what am I going to be facing, what's going to hurt me the most, and really it's Wizard. So I go light, and I'm almost convinced to go Howling Crypts at this point, but I see I'm level 4, and if we get one more okay escape on runes, we can go into Howling Crypts where this young elf belongs. So we run runes. I'm hopeful to get a little bit more action in this raid, and I want to test out this stuff against a decent squad. I got to test out the Halberd and saw its crazy potential with Adrenaline Rush last episode, but really this build is kind of untested. And now that we've switched it up already, we're going to take a lot more damage and have to be fairly careful with the stuff we're running. We're going to be a weird mix of like not real fast and not super tanky. So could leave us vulnerable, which is why I haven't gone into Howling Crypts yet. And we'll see if we can survive another one in runes. Plus level 5 will make things a little bit easier, as we'll be able to take Swift alongside maybe projectile resistance, combo attack, if we feel we need it. And it'll make our life a little bit better. Just a little bit better, not hugely different, as fighter class doesn't have any real game-breaking perks. And we're back to where we were last game, breaking pods and finding, you know, mediocre, well, less than mediocre items, really. That helmet's pretty worthless to me. We have one little collectible, but every once in a while you do find some nice little things, like this health potion. So we'll keep looting what we can. Really, you have to, especially if you're doing a permadeath run. Every little piece of gear or items, any coin at all, is so crucial. Could be the difference from buying like a blue or green item in the shop to basically being stuck with what you already have. We need everything, and not to mention we do need all the experience we can get. So looting every chest, killing every mob we find, these are all things that benefit us over the course of our journey. And this elf is determined to make it into Howling Crypts, and we need to make it there. It is so crucial. Almost as crucial as bringing in a crossbow if you're playing a fighter class, as it helps deal with mobs that are super, super frustrating to deal with, like those dragonflies. Haven't really explored this side of the bridge all that much. Truthfully, The amount of time I've spent on runes has been pretty limited to just running towards the worm's den and doing what I could to interrupt teams and fight people there. That place is not the hotspot it used to be, but Duo Q has me super intrigued. Did not realize those mobs would not push in my direction. Just gonna let them go rather than chasing them around the map, which will cost us some experience, but at least we won't get stuck fighting two skellies as a duo finds their way to my location. We're gonna sneak around here and grab that speed shrine again, as it could be the difference between winning and losing a fight or staying alive enough to fight again. Speed shrine is, I think, definitely my favorite shrine. It's just so hilarious. I've seen some crazy stuff with it, and anytime you get it on the fighter class, you feel like you're absolutely flying through the dungeon wearing, like in this situation, some okay gear. We hear some guys opening chests close by, and I think this door is about to open. Definitely got some players behind that wall. We need to start to focus up, because it's been a while since we had any sort of serious action. I heard their steps really close by, and I'm expecting them to peek to at least see what trouble lies ahead. However, we don't get really any movement at all. Considering I have the speed buff on, I'm gonna take a little bit of a risk here and push in to see what we can find. My two guys crouched in the corner, absolutely terrified by the look of it, so we're gonna make this quick and head in there as fast as possible. He annihilates his friend with the fireball, and then we slice him down with our arming sword. Only real issue here is we use second wind and all that excitement. Once I saw a wizard, I was like, pop second wind, we gotta get full value for this thing in case I do eat a fireball. Luckily for me, his teammate blocked that fireball quite nicely. This elf and his speed and grace made quick work of those poor individuals. That arming sword, sprint, speed shrine combo. I'm still not sure if I enjoy second wind as a solo player. I love the ability to chop down players in half the time using adrenaline rush, and oftentimes I just feel like that's so necessary. You don't have the 5 or 6 seconds or 12 seconds, whatever it is for second wind, to be useful. And if you're doing things correctly and just deleting players as fast as possible, then adrenaline rush will help you get rid of that first guy quickly. In this situation, we didn't really need to worry about having either, because these guys look like they're fairly fresh, and I imagine they're having a little conversation now about properly aiming some of those fireballs next time. That will be an interesting conversation. Hopefully it's a good laugh, not rage-inducing. They didn't have much with them, so they didn't really have much to lose or worry about, and can quickly run it back and try again. So that felt good. Felt nice in a way to finally get some PvP action, as runes has been very quiet. Most of what I'm hearing is the owls and birds above me. And the odd little rogue will slink by and you see kind of bits and pieces of a player, but never really feel like we're involved in the action when we spawn in the center of the map. It takes a long time for players to come to you. So we're once again hanging out at a spot that we know and love with this protection shrine and health shrine. We'll grab this protection shrine. I think we already have the buff from the one before, but at least we'll get the XP from this one and refresh our buff. One thing that's super nice right now is we do have a full inventory. Like, some solid items to sell. Look at all our meds. It cost us anything that fight, really. And if I was smart, I would have just ran back to Health Shrine and not used any meds at all. And with Protection Shrine, look at this. 42% damage reduction, 37% magic resist. It's fairly nice. I know it's 10%, but considering we're using some very light gear, if we were to fight somebody right now, they would definitely notice the tankiness. 42% damage reduction is no joke. I wish I knew how to tell if they're going to shoot that second arrow. I've seen some people asking about it. I have never researched it, so if you guys have any clues on how you know that these archers are going to pop you with another one, please tell. We hear a portal already, which feels super early, but looking at the clock, it's already been, 6 or 7 minutes into this raid. We're not going to go to the basement of this map, as we have no clue what's down there. I've never been into that little section underneath. And before we can even consider it again, we hear a wizard try to blast him with a crossbow and miss as he was hasting across in front of us. So he's either running away from somebody or running towards a fight. I'm going to say that he's running away from somebody, because this guy straight up disappears. I only have this one torch, so I don't really want to throw it. But we hear nothing. No footsteps, no spells being casted, and just like last game, we're chasing ghosts. Little glimpses of players darting across the map, heading to places that I have no clue about as they dodge the teams or duos of players. I feel like a lot of people are fresh spawning into duos and just running from everybody. Not sure what there is to gain, considering there's not a lot of loot here. If you've noticed, most of the stuff I've found has been absolute garbage. And the only loot I'm really getting is from players and a few odd collectibles. And sure, I'm killing the easier mobs. I haven't really tried the skeleton champion or any of those mobs on this map yet. Perhaps Cockatrice has decent stuff, but maybe, like most of you are saying, it is still a good time farming worm to at least have a chance at the key, and then the loot around the edges. Found a fair few blues down there after killing worm, but I've yet to find any good items at all on the upper side. I feel like it's pretty bad. In general, I could make probably as much or more in the normal map. But considering we had a full inventory, there wasn't much for me to gain here, and I was getting tired of chasing players around without any real end result. Some of these fights would have been worthy. These guys are rocking some greens. But overall, nothing too crazy. So we may have stood a chance against some of these guys. This could be maybe one of the wizards we saw darting around. But he's a dual wielder. I wish him the best of luck. But really nothing too exciting, which is nice to see. It's nice not seeing purples and legendaries, just cleaning up the entire duo queue lobby. But we're happy. We make it out once again, and this will propel us into Howling Crypts, which is the place we've been wanting to go to for quite some time. All these items really didn't add up to a whole lot. I think we got like 100 gold there. And that will give us a chance to upgrade things a little bit. Just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Perhaps a Gamba, or if the shop changed, maybe a new weapon. Although I don't think I'm going to find a much better weapon than this blue arming sword, because it's fairly decent. Fairly good. Checking Goblin Merchant, we still got that Regal Gambitson. And then some pendants. And really nothing exciting. So, kind of a shame. I might just roll on the Gambison, but it's going to need to at least be a green with some decent stats. We got a blue. Magical damage bonus and 2.6 physical damage bonus. I feel like it's worth it to use simply because of the physical damage bonus. But really, it's not a huge upgrade. A little bit better armor rating. Nothing too incredible. So we've hit some okay gambles. Something tells me we're still not doing all that well on them. I was kind of debating about using that plate armor again, but we're going to sell all our junk and head into Howling Crypts. Finally, after all this time, this young elf's going to get to prove himself to the world and to his elf homelanders that he can do it. This armor is not just dead weight. And we quickly go for another heater shield. Unfortunately, same results. We scrounge up our few remaining pennies to buy 5 more bolts, just because we're going into Howling Crypts and could use it desperately for any PvE clearing. And we almost forgot, but we are now level 5, which means we can throw on another perk, which I think is a fairly straightforward decision. Projectile resistance is just solid. It's one of those ones you just put it on and forget about it, and reap the rewards without doing very much. So, we're gonna run it. There's a lot of projectiles being thrown around Howling Crypts. And we are back in the dungeon, and I don't get to play a whole lot anymore. Trying to use our crossbow to kill this skeleton from a distance. It's the reason why we brought so many bolts. I haven't really looked at the loot table in here in a long time. Something tells me it's going to be similar to runes, and the fact that there's not a lot of great stuff here. Get some coins. Then a bunch of nothing on the next one. Don't expect to be finding greens and blues all the time. However, I do find it a little frustrating when you're looting chests and you don't find really anything of value. Like green gloves every once in a while would be nice. Even green pants. Green collectible is okay, but I'm just always curious to see like green gear. Because you never know what's going to roll on it. It could just be very lucky and valuable. But green sellables, you don't really get that satisfaction. It's kind of just, oh, yeah, cool. Moving on. Dealing with Spear Skellies is something I've not had to do in a long time. And I know you can dodge side to side when they're doing the forward thrust. When they do the long sweeping attack, you almost have to be behind them. Luckily here we get a green item. With a little bit of armor penetration, it actually drops my physical damage reduction by what? 1%. So 1% drop for armor pen. But I also lose some health. So, oh man, so many little decisions that could cost me my poor little elf life. Anyway, we're gonna keep the helmet we had on. And we find another one. But once again, all this magic damage items. Feels like everything's geared towards cleric that I've been finding. All the plate stuff I'm finding is magical damage. It's been crazy. If I remember correctly, there's quite a few mobs through here. I thought Skeleton Champion used to spawn underneath there, or a Wraith. Seeing how we're solo here, we do need to take this slowly. At the same time, we need to make sure we have a route out of here in case trouble arises. This place has some really nice loot, and I'm looking at that speed shrine thinking, yeah, that's what we need to focus on getting. We're going to clear up these spiders, deal with some of the mobs in here. And I hear a bard playing music. It's not a good sign. It's very, very unlikely I'm going to find a solo bard in here. So that's probably a juiced up team, or a team at least running a comp that absolutely crushed me. Movement speed, the action speed, if they're running barbarian or cleric, or really any combination, that bard will make them all hit so much harder. And then before we know it, we get a team pushing us from the left. So we're going to end this quickly, as I see they're lightly geared. We work on this first guy as fast as we can. It appears his friend hit him with a curse or something, so that helped. He hits us with a dot. I'm not sure which one it is, because we absolutely clobber this guy. I mean, one sword swing to the face and he was dead on that last player. So I'm not sure if he gave me like Curse of Sacrifice, which actually gives me more strength. I have no idea what the debuff looks like, because I really have never taken notice of it too much. I felt like I was doing some serious damage to those guys with my little arming sword. We have to get moving, and the biggest worry I have right now is the fact that there's a team with a bard somewhere close by. And if they heard any of that commotion or kind of lingering in this area, I didn't want to be sitting out in zone healing and then get stuck walking into a team of 3. We're going to loot this area, which probably has better loot than most of those guys we just killed, and move on. Another really frustrating thing is, I used Second Wind. I kind of had to in a way, considering it looked like a couple of warlocks, maybe a cleric, orc. But regardless, I needed to keep that dot damage or any type of projectile damage to a minimum. So, I popped Second Wind at the start of the fight, knowing it could be an interesting one even with 3 lightly geared players. Looked like one guy had a spear, but he could never really get close to me as I moved to his weaker players. And now, I am terrified. So we have a team that I'm likely stalking. All these mobs have been cleared. And we hear bits and pieces of them to our left. Trying to get a read on what's in their team, and it sounds like a barbarian or someone smashing stuff down. We definitely have a bard and a barbarian. And this will be a very difficult fight. If I need to do it at all. Truthfully, I'm kind of hoping they just move on and I can go this way. I want to go through Foursquare and then around. And if I open any of these doors close by, they're definitely going to hear me. So, I do not feel like going around and going underneath that small area, which is a whole bunch of spiders and mummies. This is a route I would prefer to take. I'm just praying I get to extend my journey a little further without fighting this team quite yet. With each pop break, it sounds like they're getting closer and closer. I'm really tempted to back up, but just hoping they don't find me here. I've made no noise. Then a portal spawns close by, which could draw them this direction, which is unfortunate. And now we're very much stuck in a bad situation. We pray it's not the barbarian first, and it's going to be the barbarian first. We whiff our crossbow shot. Blocking his bardiche. We need to get out of here. And just like that, it's all over. One mistake. One moment of bad luck with that portal. And we were pushed and destroyed. I felt really bad about this, as if I'd just done something horribly wrong. And then I look and I think of that barbarian, I'm like, and that guy's got like 150, 160 HP. His bard's been doing his job stacking all his buffs. Even a 1v1 with just this barbarian would have been so incredibly difficult. I would have had to block the bardiche. Obviously, my crossbow was a really poor decision. I wanted to land it, and then it could give me some distance, and if I was facing a squishy target first, I might be able to just one-tap them after the crossbow bolt. Obviously, skill issue, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I had so few options. I wasn't going to be able to outrun them. I wasn't going to be able to out-damage the barbarian, or even do enough damage quick enough to get him out of the way before heals and stuff start piling on top of him. And that's just how ruthless going into Howling Crypts can be right now. It is so quick. Glad he's using bardiche, because I think it's a cool weapon, but man, we died so fast. And unfortunately, this elf and his armor, even though he was a little bit lightly geared at the end of it, going with a bit more movement speed, and perhaps those elves back home were not wrong in saying going solo with even medium heavy gear is difficult, but you don't have the movement speed to escape situations like I was in. Perhaps with some better decision making, that elf could have made it out alive. Once again, I thank you all. I appreciate every single one of you that subscribed and liked. I know this one had some kind of slower moments, so I hope you all appreciated it. And I'll see you in the next video.
Looking pretty spiffy, bro.